There are a few dishes a person ought to have mastered before they call themselves any kind of cook, and fried chicken sits right at the top of that list. A proper piece, deep golden and crackling on the outside, juicy clear through, is one of the finest things a home kitchen can produce. And yet, so many folks have quietly given up trying because theirs keeps coming out wrong. Greasy and pale, burnt outside and raw at the bone, a crust that slides clean off the moment it hits the plate. Be of good cheer, folks, because understanding the handful of things that actually matter gives you a good chicken every time you try. I'm Grace, and today we are laying out the whole of it. Good fried chicken comes down to 4 things. Season the meat itself, not just the crust. Give the coating a real chance to stick. Keep the oil at the right heat and don't crowd the pan. That's it. Get those 4 right, and there is no such thing as a bad piece of fried chicken. My mother fried hers in a great black skillet, turning each piece slow and unhurried, never once rushing the heat up to be done sooner. I asked her once why she didn't just turn the fire higher and finish quicker, and she told me plain, a body cannot hurry a chicken. I've found that to be true in the years ever since. Let's start with the chicken itself, and with salt, because here's the first thing most folks get wrong without ever realizing it. They season the flour and think that's enough. But the flour is only the crust, and if you season only the crust, you end up with a well-seasoned coating wrapped around bland meat. And the whole plate tastes flat no matter how good that crust looks. The meat itself has to be seasoned, and seasoned early enough for the salt to actually work its way in. Salt your chicken pieces well, all over, and let them sit with that salt on them for a good stretch of time before they ever meet the flour, a half hour at the very least, several hours or overnight in the cold box if you can manage it. In that time, the salt draws in and seasons the meat all the way through, and it helps the meat hold on to its own juices while it cooks. So you end up with chicken that's both better seasoned and noticeably juicier. That waiting costs you nothing but a little planning, and it makes more difference than anything else you'll do today. Salt early, and season your other spices in right alongside it. Black pepper generous, paprika for warmth and color, garlic if your family favors it, rubbed into every surface of the meat. A word on which pieces to use. Bone-in pieces make the best fried chicken, plainly and without argument. The bone keeps the meat moist as it cooks, and the skin crisps right into the crust itself. Thighs and drumsticks are the most forgiving of the lot, being darker and fattier, so they stay juicy even if you run them a little long, which makes them the right place to start if this is new to you. Breast pieces are leaner and dry out faster, so watch those more closely. Whatever you choose, try to fry pieces of a similar size together, so they all finish around the same time instead of some drying out, while others are still raw at the bone. Now the buttermilk soak, and this is old, and it earns its place. Put your seasoned chicken into buttermilk, enough to cover the pieces, and let it sit an hour at the least, overnight in the cold box, if you have the time. The buttermilk does 2 honest things for you. Its gentle acidity works on the surface of the meat and tenderizes it some, and just as important, that thick, clinging liquid gives the flour something real to grab onto, which is a good part of how you end up with a thick, craggy crust that actually stays put instead of sliding off. It won't work miracles on a poor bird, but it does genuine work on both counts. If you haven't got buttermilk, plain milk with a beaten egg stirred in will serve well enough, but buttermilk is the better choice by far. On to the coating. Plain flour, well seasoned, is the old way, and it makes a wonderful crust without needing anything fancier. Put your flour in a wide dish and season it the same as you seasoned the meat, salt, plenty of black pepper, paprika, whatever else you used, so the flavors agree with each other rather than fighting. Here's a small trick worth knowing. Take a few spoonfuls of your buttermilk and work it into the seasoned flour with your fingers until it's scattered through with little lumps and shaggy bits. Those lumps are what turn into the craggy, crunchy, irregular edges on the finished crust, the parts that go extra golden and extra crisp. A perfectly smooth flour gives you a smooth, even coating, which is fine, but a shaggy, lumpy flour gives you something with real character and real crunch. Lift each piece from the buttermilk, let the excess drip away, and press it firmly into the seasoned flour, turning and pressing so it's packed on well over every surface. Press it on, don't just dust it. Set the coated pieces on a rack or a plate, and now comes the step folks skip most often, to their own regret. Let that coated chicken rest before it goes anywhere near the oil, a full 15 to 20 minutes. In that time, the dry flour on the outside draws up moisture from the buttermilk underneath it, and the coating turns from a loose, powdery dust into a slightly damp, pasty layer that clings to the meat properly and stays put in the pan. A coating that goes straight from the flour into hot oil is still loose and powdery underneath, and that is exactly the chicken whose crust slides off the second you touch it. So rest it. Now the frying itself, where the other half of your success lives, entirely in the heat of the oil. A heavy pan, cast iron for preference, holds heat steady the way this dish needs. You want enough fat to come at least halfway up the pieces, shallow frying and turning rather than deep frying in a full pot, which uses far less fat and works every bit as well. Lard is traditional and gives a wonderful flavor. A plain oil that takes heat well serves just fine too. Temperature is the whole question here. You want the oil properly hot before the chicken ever goes in, hot enough that a bit of coating dropped in sizzles briskly right away. Too cool, and the chicken sits there soaking up grease instead of frying, coming out pale and heavy and greasy. Too hot, and the crust browns and even burns before the meat inside has had any real chance to cook through. So keep this in mind, start off hot, then turn down once the chicken goes in. Hold at a good steady medium so the pieces fry at an even, moderate pace, browning gradually while the inside catches up. That's the whole of it. And do not crowd the pan. Fry in batches, give the pieces room to breathe, and let the oil climb back to heat between rounds. Patience again, and it pays you back every time. Fry the chicken, turning it once or twice until it's deep golden brown all over and cooked through. This is not a quick process, a good 15 minutes or more for bone-in pieces. It is that slower, moderate pace that lets the inside finish cooking while the outside browns properly rather than burning ahead of it. Chicken must be cooked all the way through, never pink anywhere near the bone. The surest way to know is to cut into the thickest piece and look for clear juices with no pink anywhere close to the bone. When it comes out of the pan, resist setting it on paper towels and set it on a wire rack instead. Chicken resting on a flat surface or on paper traps its own steam underneath, and that trapped steam softens the crust, leaving the bottom soggy. A rack lets air move all the way around the piece, and the crust stays crisp everywhere. It's a small thing that preserves everything you worked for. Remember, a crust sliding off means resting time was skipped after coating. Greasy and pale chicken means your oil wasn't hot enough or overcrowded pan. Burnt outside and raw inside means overly hot oil and large pieces. Bland chicken with tasty crust means seasoned flour only. And if it's too dry, the cooking time was long. Every one of these causes has a remedy. Tell me down in the comments how chicken was fried in your household. I'd genuinely love to hear all the amazing recipes. Until then, take good care of the ones at your table, and remember that good fried chicken was a matter of seasoning, time, the right heat, and a steady hand willing to wait.